Hey there guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have some actual news coming from the Russian Federation, from the Vladimir Putin himself. He had something to say and I have a translated transcript of him, what he was saying there. And he's saying some interesting stuff, and especially West should really listen to it and not ignore it like they usually do, acting all arrogant and stuff. So let's jump right into it, see what this guy had to say. So he said, "I want to inform the personnel of the armed forces of the Russian Federation, citizens of our country, our friends worldwide, and those who continue to harbor illusion about the possibility of strategically defeating Russia." You could have just said, I want to inform the whole world, because this is basically everybody, about the events unfolding today in the zone of the special military operation. Just call it war. What's the point? Particularly following the use of Western manufactured long-range weapon against our territory, which is what we talked about. You know, France, Britain, and the US allowed Ukraine to use these weapons against Russian territory. Experts know well, and the Russian side has repeatedly emphasized that the use of such weapons is impossible without the direct involvement of military specialists from the countries that produce them, which is also true. You clearly know that. They're not just gonna hand like all these advanced technology systems to Ukraine and just teach them how to use them. No, they're there using them as engineers or volunteers or whatever. So it's their military, literally their equipment, their people are operating it, they're shooting at Russians. If that's not a military confrontation, I don't know what it is, but the West is being a little bit delusional and Russia is reporting it as it is. On November 19th, 6 ATACMS tactical missiles produced by the United States, and November 21st, during a combined missile attack with Storm Shadow systems from the UK and HIMARS from the US, strikes were carried out against military facilities on Russian territory in the Bryansk and Kursk regions. Now, I'm gonna show you where that is exactly. So we are going on this map that is showing us the map and the progress of the Russian forces in Ukraine. They hit the Kursk region, which is right here, and they hit Bryansk region right here. This is a Russian territory. They did not push into Ukraine from that. The red that you can see here, a little bit darker red, is where Russians advanced into Ukraine. So this is the territory that Ukraine so far lost to Russia. This is just the territory Russia has been holding, and this is the Kursk region right here. This is where they claim, Ukrainians claim, that have been fighting against North Koreans. So North Koreans are not pushing into Ukraine, as they said. They are there to just protect the Russian land, Russian territory. We have here in Belgorod, they are starting to advance a little, and Kharkiv is probably gonna be the next goal. I mean, a lot of fighting is happening down here, but Ukrainians believe in Santa Claus apparently, because they are pushing in the Kursk region. I don't know what's that supposed to achieve, to be honest with you. What? You have this is your war right here, and you're being pushed in the south, and you're like, no, we're gonna push in the north. And go where? Do you know where Vladivostok is? It's way over here. Are you gonna get there? You can't move a muscle here. What do you mean? Doesn't matter. I'm again just going off the track, but yeah. They hit these two regions. Doesn't matter where exactly. They did hit them. Now, Putin did state that they hit military facilities. So, I gotta hand it to Putin for being honest. And I gotta hand it to Ukrainians for using the weapons for what they're supposed to and not hitting residential buildings like Americans love to do. And that is a very, very good thing. In the Kursk region, the attack targeted one of the command posts of our severed grouping. Unfortunately, the attack and the ensuing air defense engagement resulted in casualties amongst external security personnel and service staff. However, the command and operational staff of the command post were unharmed and continued to direct our troops' operations in expelling enemy units from the Kursk region, probably. So, the attack was semi-successful. They hit what they were meant to hit, but it killed some people that work outside, but the ones that are important that are inside were unharmed and are continuing their work, is what he's saying. So he's not doing things like the West likes doing. When Russians make some new missile or something, or a plane or whatever, the West is very quick to dismiss it like that. They suck, they're horrible, everything they make is horrible. Only we make good things. So Russia is not underestimating them. It's giving them a fair judgment by saying their weapons work. They hit what they were supposed to hit. We did not intercept them, but they did this much damage. So he's being honest. He's saying what it is. He didn't start yapping about, civilians were killed. No. They hit military locations as they wanted to. In response to the use of American and British long-range weapons on November 21st, the Russian armed forces carried out a combined strike on Ukrainian defense industrial facilities probably, but During the operation, we tested one of Russia's newest medium-range missile system under combat conditions using a ballistic missile equipped with non-nuclear hypersonic technology. So, this is telling us another thing. It's telling us that Russians made another missile. Basically the upgrade on the Kinzhal that West already doesn't have answer for. Now there is another one improved, and it's called Oresnik. Our missile specialists have named it Oresnik. That it's Oresnik missile. But he's saying, I'm not gonna say there because this is Putin himself saying that the missiles are not equipped with nuclear technology. So it's not nukes. It's not gonna be a nuclear war. Yes, US, UK, France with Ukraine did hit inside Russian territory, and they will face their consequences for it. Not Ukraine. Okay? So Russia sees Ukrainians as their brothers, as the same people. And they promised they're not gonna use nuclear weapons against them. Maybe because that's gonna be their territory one day. They don't want radiation. They don't want people there to start hating them. They're doing everything to have this controlled and to, be good to the people, even though their governments don't really see each other very well. So Russia is not going to use nukes in Ukraine, basically what he's saying, yet. They see no need unless maybe, the Western troops enter and start doing whatever. Then that's possibility for Russians to use some smaller type of nuclear warhead that's not gonna destroy the whole city or something, but just enough to destroy the Western units. So that's what I think, not what he said. But still, we're gonna see what else he says. The tests of Oresnik were successful and the target was hit. So the new missile system apparently works. In the city of Dnipro, Ukraine, we destroyed one of the largest industrial complexes known since the Soviet era, which continues to produce missile technology and other weapons. So the missile worked. So let's see, where is the city of Dnipro in Ukraine? So we can see how far did they actually hit. Well, in the transcript it says Dnipro, but I'm pretty sure it's Dnipro. And we have some hits here by ballistic missiles, as we can see it here. So this is right here, and the front line is way back there. Let me remind you that Russia committed not to deploy medium and short-range missiles until similar Americans appear in any region of the world. So Russia didn't have any plans on using missiles, but you bring yours, I bring mine, so it's simply what happens. The testing of Oresnik missile system under combat condition is a direct response to NATO countries' aggressive actions against Russia. Makes sense, and also doesn't really matter. They would test them one way or another. They tested missiles even before the war happened, so it's completely fine, but there is not really any point of saying it. It's just, show and tell. This is my new rocket. Look how good it can hit stuff. That's what it is. The decision to further deploy medium and short range missiles will depend on the actions of the United States and its satellites. Wow. These are like words out of my mouth. He literally just called them satellites. UK and France, because that's what they are. They're puppets. That's what it is, and he really just did that. Good job. Targets for future strikes during tests of our new missile system will be determined based on threats to Russian security. We reserve the right to use our weapon against military facilities in countries that permit their weapons to be used against our facilities. So this is the scary part. We reserve the right to use our weapons against military facilities in countries that permit their weapons to be used against our facilities. That includes US, that includes France, and that includes UK. Because they are the countries that permit their weapons to be used against Russia. As I said, they will hit back. And it's not gonna be good. Now you might be thinking, well, if they hit France or UK, that's a war with NATO. Well, maybe not. Because let's see the Western standards, where Israel was hitting all over Iran, their military facilities, their drone factories and missile factories, because they were sending those to Ukraine, to Russia to use against Ukraine. They hit Iran, and that was not war. Iran didn't even retaliate at the time. So if Russia decides to hit some factories, some military facilities in France or UK, by that logic, it's not a war. It's just, you slap me, I slap you back. So this is possible. They reserve their right to do this, and they're most likely going to do it unless something changes very quickly. But we'll see how that goes. It's not going to be nuclear. Again, he stressed that he's not going to use nukes. Russia is usually trying to be defensive and use their nukes defensively. So if they get hit by a nuke, they will hit you with a nuke. Otherwise, I don't think they will. They have no need for it. In cases where strikes on Ukrainian territory using systems like Oresnik are deemed necessary, we will proactively warn civilians and citizens of friendly countries in these areas to evacuate. We will do this publicly and openly out of humanitarian considerations, without fear of interference from the enemy, who will also receive this information because there are currently no means to counteract such weapons. So this is huge. So in case that Russia strikes anyone with this new missile system, anyone, mainly Ukraine, if they decide to hit them, they will say, we will hit right there, because Ukrainians are well known to put their air defense systems in between residential buildings so they can't be hit, and when Russia hits them, the blast damages the nearby buildings where people are living, and Ukraine is very keen to point a finger at them and say, look, they're shooting at civilians. So Russia is, from now on, when they are using this new missile system, is going to announce, we're using it, we're gonna hit right there. Everyone who's in the region, pack your stuff and leave, because, we don't want to kill any civilians. Also, you can't say this to every civilian everywhere without the West hearing about it. So they don't care. As they say, we don't care. The West is gonna know. And do what you gotta do. You can't stop it. So it's pretty good that they're gonna actually inform people about this. And I actually appreciate it. This is a good thing. So he said, the US is driving the entire world towards a global conflict. We have always preferred and are still ready to resolve disputes through peaceful means. True, they did offer a bunch peace deals to Ukraine. NATO was there to stop it, so he's not lying. Makes sense. However, we are also prepared for any developments. If anyone still doubts this, they are mistaken. There will always be a response. He finished with that. So he's basically saying there is always be a response, as they did. So this is an interesting thing, because they are, saying this openly. We're gonna hit right there and then. They didn't notify anyone about the strikes they already did with the missile, because it was obviously testing those missiles on the battlefield. If you're gonna test anything, the best way is to throw it at your enemy and see how it works. So now that they figured out it's working and they know it's unstoppable, they're gonna be notifying everybody where they're planning on heading. Because if it was like, oh, we're gonna hit this anti-air system right there in between those two buildings, they can move it. It's not a problem. But they're talking about actual military facilities a factory that's producing missiles or weapons or ammunition, you can't pack it up and leave in like 2 hours. But people that are there can evacuate in that time. So they will do this. But the part that worries me is the part where they're saying they're gonna hit these countries like France, UK, and probably US. Because these countries will consider that a war, even though on the other side, Israel hitting Iran a bunch of times in the past couple of years is not a war. It's all good. So we're gonna see how that goes. Nobody wants a war. These big countries don't want a war with each other, and we are pretty sure, even if it comes to it, they're gonna resolve their issues and they're gonna keep fighting like this, you know, like proxy wars and stuff like that. But if Russia starts hitting back, it's not gonna be good. I also see here we have US hits Russia's Gazprom bank with sanctions. Well, of course it does. I mean, it doesn't matter. They're still buying Russian oil. I don't know what they're doing. It's so hypocritical. I can't even think about it. So, to not make this any longer, make sure you subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this. And I'll keep letting you know what they're cooking while you're not looking. And I'll see you on the next one.